What's up, guys? WhoNeedsMeta here, back with more Jankmas. I asked Cadigan to put together Hazy Flames. I let him pick the format. He set it on Hat because of the Prio card that was in there, and then Hat's like a format that people actually play.
Yeah, you have some real representation for that format. So really, I mean, this is just a Cosmo Blazer like filler archetype, right? Like there's so many of them, but
it can't be targeted.
The whole gimmick is all of this archetype is level 6 Beast Warriors, Wing Beasts. Their gimmick, like you said, is none of them can be targeted by your opponent's card effects, which is kind of neat. Gives the deck some kind of backbone, like
because Breakthrough Skill is the big one.
Breakthrough Skill is the big one in this format. My Moral Talk still doesn't care.
Yeah, I'll say that card does not.
But Breakthrough Skill, just falls flat and can't target any of your guys. So there's some fun.
101, yeah, that card.
Yeah, you can't get 101. The Mermails can't infantry your guys. So like, there's relevant interactions where they can't. Yeah. There's some fun stuff.
Veiler's not really played, but that's.
That being said, this isn't like, you shouldn't take this to your next Hat locals thinking this is going to be the thing. But for Jankmas, I think this is perfect. And can you cheese wins with this? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you how. So just to get into the archetype here, like I said, level 6 fire guys. Cerbereus is your searcher of the deck. He can normal himself without tribute, but he'll be 1,000 attack when you do. And when it's destroyed anywhere, it could be in your hand or whatever, it can search a hazy card. There are spell and traps. Most of them are bad. But
Pillar isn't, though.
Pillar isn't. You'll see that. That's a spell card. So that's your searcher for the deck. Where the payoff starts to come in is with Peryton, which is essentially an archetypal and worse rescue rabbit. You cannot special summon it except with like Hazy Flame monster effects. So you can't like mill it and then call it, which is really unfortunate. But
Soul Charge.
There are other cards in their archetype that can special it back. But really, you're trying to normal this card or get it on the field somehow. Activate its effect, which is you send 1 fire from your hand and tribute itself to special 2 Hazy Flames from your deck.
Just say it's more unique Summoner Monk rather than bad Rescue Rabbit.
Yeah, because Summoner, like Rescue Rabbit, actually gives you a plus. This, you're right, it's more like Monk, where you pitch and then special. So you sack this guy to special 2 more from your deck. The targets that you can get with it are really what you're trying to do with this deck. You're trying to make an XYZ, a rank 6. There is an archetypal one, but there's some other good toolboxy ones. But this is the main playmaker of the deck. And why you want to play in Hat...
That's the one that locks you into fires, right?
This guy?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. This is Hazy Flame Hydra. It comes out in Primal Origin. Like all the others, you can't target it with card effects. Actually, you're right. You can't summon monsters except fire monsters with it. So be aware of that. But that's fine because the 2 cards you really want to go into with this are fire. This guy has the effect that when it is used to XYZ summon an XYZ, you can also attach a Hazy Flame from your graveyard to that XYZ monster also. So you gain 2 more materials. So effectively, if you Peryton into 2 of these and make a fire rank 6, you can then pull probably the Cerbereus and the Peryton that you used to get there onto that XYZ as materials in the first place. And I'm just going to show you why that's important. This guy's also a dinosaur, and if anyone can see where this is coming, Solda. This requires dinosaurs. These are dinosaurs. You can make it with 2 Hydras and then pull 2 more materials onto it. So you have a 4 material Evolzar Solda. Can't be destroyed by card effects, well, it has materials, and blanks 4 special summons. So that's like your pseudo turn 1 boss monster-y kind of thing. There are more, and I'll get to the archetypal one when we get there, but just so you know where we're heading. Like it's all focused on spam of this guy. If you've already done the play once and you have to go for one of this and a different target, you'll go for Sphynx. Sphynx is like the gambling addiction part of this deck. You once per turn call what the top card of your deck is going to be, and then you mill it, and if you called it right, you can special summon a fire monster from your hand or graveyard.
Is it type or name?
It is type.
Okay.
So typically, if you're trying to resolve Sphynx consistently, you want to only have 2 types of cards in your deck. So it's like all monsters and spells, for example, which this deck mostly is. There are like 2 traps. We'll get there, but so you're trying to be as consistent as you can with the gamble here. And this card can bring back Peryton for more summons. Can also bring back a Hydra to make a bigger XYZ. It's the backup. That's why it's only at 2. But the others are at 3 just for consistency of seeing them. Even if Hydra kind of sucks to draw, you need to be able to resolve that Peryton double Hydra play as often as possible. We do play one High King Fire.
Garunix.
We play
one Garunix.
You're playing Onslaught. It's a good fire card. You can technically reborn it with Sphynx if you really need to. It's just good fire boss monster. To assist with the deck's strategy, we're also going with a small Lightsworn package of 3 Raiden, 2 Lumina, and a Wulf. Why? Why are we doing this? You run Soul Charge and Rekindling, so you want to set those plays up. Also, being level 6, the Beast Warrior, the Hazy Flames kind of pair out well with Raiden to make Leo, which is also a problem for some decks.
Leo's a wall in a lot of matchups.
Yeah, he just continues the trend of, hey, you can't target any of my things with anything relevant.
And big.
Yeah, and big. Sometimes Wulf is tribute fodder, but that's really the only reason they're there. That and Lumina into Raiden gives you like a late game something to do if you have a bunch of cards that don't do anything. Last 2 monsters, we're at 20. Battle Fader? Question mark. This is kind of a flex slot. These could be Trags. This could be really anything, but considering that you're mainly on monsters and spells in this version of the deck, you want a way to prevent your opponent from killing you. You could put in T-Roar, but I think this is fine in almost every case, and it gives you tribute fodder. That's there's no deeper reasoning to that. Sometimes you can make a 5 with Raiden with it or something, or an 8 with Raiden Lumina, but like it's really just there to give you another turn and maybe give you some tribute fodder to do something with. So, like I said, 20 monsters, all focused on getting a bunch of fires on field to make big XYZs. Onto the spells, I think there's 18 Lightsworn cards, 1 charge, triple recharge. This is just kind of the standard ratio for Lightsworns. Is like I modeled this after the Chaos package that typically runs that same ratio of 6 Lightsworns and the full 4 of this. Mills cards puts cards in your graveyard for Sphynx and Soul Charge and Rekindling. Gets you problem-solving cards. That's about it. The Hazy card, Spell and Trap we were talking about. Hazy Pillar. It's kind of bad, but it's also not the worst thing to search. So essentially, while this is active, you can normal a Hazy Flame without tributing it. That's its main effect. It does have a secondary effect where once per turn, you can attach a Hazy Flame monster in your hand or field onto an XYZ monster you control. If it was Grave, this card would actually be really solid. Unfortunately, it's not. So you're mainly just using it for the summon effect. But sometimes, maybe you just want to make Solda bigger, give it another material. You can do that here, or any of the other XYZs. It's not restrictive. You can put like a Hazy Flame onto like an Exciton Knight or something. If you like, you could technically reuse 101 with this. Like after you yoink a monster, you can pillar 1 back onto it. So like it's cute sometimes, but don't get too cute with it. Also to help summon cards, we have 2 Soul Exchange. Frankly, I think this card's fine in this format. This could be flex. It's not core. It really is just to help get your level 6s on field. I think you're running like 11 of them, so you want consistent help to do that.
And only 1 can be normal summon, correct? It's just
only Cerbereus can normal itself with its own effect. The other ones are just level 6s. So Soul Exchange helps. I mean, you can tribute over a hat or a hand or a Gaia armor. Like the card's actually not that awful in this format. But that's really it. It's just a support card. You could change it for something else if you want. Fire deck that runs Fire Beasts, Beast Warriors, and Wing Beasts. We're playing Onslaught. It just gets one of those out for free if you don't have another monster on the field. Why the heck not? At the worst, it's tribute fodder, but it can trigger Cerberus if you just let it die at the end phase. It can set up a level 10 if you summon Raiden afterwards. You can get Garunix with it if you just need to get Garunix on the field.
That's a Treeborn Frog, essentially.
Yeah, basically what that does for you. It's a flexible card, and it fits with what you're doing with the deck, so that's why you're running that. 1 circle, I think that's enough. You're not playing full Fire Kings, so 1 circle to dodge something or turn dead Cerberus into a bigger card. You can turn a 1,000 attack Cerberus into Garunix again or something. You can't obviously reborn Peryton with it. Unfortunately, it's not a Hazy Flame monster effect, but it still has utility, and I think 1 is fine. If you really want to, you could probably make that Lance, but I don't think if you were running other cards like Fire Dog, I think Lance would be more warranted, but I think this is more flexible here. Reborn cards, we're on Rekindling, double Soul Charge. You probably could bump this up to 3 Soul Charge if you want to, but then you start worrying about bricking. And Rekindling gets a lot of cards in this deck. Hydra and Cerberus have 200, which are the cards you're trying to see more often than not. So And then last 3 is just Upstart. It's hat format, baby. Upstart.
Draw cards.
Yep, draw cards, get through the deck.
Flop the traps real quick.
And that is it, with the exception of just 2 breakthrough skill. If you mill them, great. They do what breakthrough skill does. This could be T-Roar. I really wouldn't run too many more traps if you're trying to resolve Sphynx consistently, or with any kind of consistency, rather. It's still a coin flip, but you start making it even more difficult the more you add to it. Breakthrough skill is flexible. That's all there is to it. So that was 20 spells and traps combined, 18 spells, 2 traps for 40 total. Extra deck, and then I'll get into some considerations. So since you do run Raiden, I was the scrub. I did it the wrong way. The first ed's supposed to be on that side. Even though
I don't think anybody cares.
It shouldn't. This is a Hazy Flame profile. This is all as cheap as possible.
Hey, you saw my Mortronic profile.
So you can make 4s, so you should run some. I just picked the best ones: Rhapsody, Dweller, Exciton, and 101. You could switch this up if you want to. You could even reduce them like this. You could cut that for something else if you want, but this gives you the coverage you want. Onto the 6s that I bet some people haven't even heard of.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top part. I was like,
we're
what
looking
the
at
hell is
Fairy
that?
King Ingunar. It's a 3 material rank 6, which is probably why you never see it.
Yep.
But
crazy.
It's a 22-3K, which is a weird stat line. But its effect is you can detach. Is it 2 or 1? I actually don't remember. That's 2. It's 2. So it has 1 effect unless you reuse it with Pillar. But you bounce all cards your opponent can. I gotta look at this card. Return all other cards on the field to the hand, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So you have other ways to clear spot threats in this deck, but if you just need to get everything off the board,
that's goofy.
It is goofy. You only run it because you technically can make it with some ease. Don't plan to make it often, but like options, right? You want options.
Let's get to the only one that matters. There we go.
Hazy Flame Basiltrice. This is the archetypal card. So it only requires 2 materials to make it. The base effect is, you'll see bullet points. It has more effects, but its base effect is you detach a material from it, and then you can target 1 monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard and banish it. So it's flexible. It's like surprisingly good spot removal. It banishes and it can hit monsters in field and grave. So like, cool. Other than that, it's a 2500 beater at base, so like it's doing things.
Now the other effects.
If you have 3 or more materials attached to it, it gains 200 attack and defense for each material on it. So once you hit 3, this goes up to 3100. Once you hit the 4th material, it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects, just like the other Hazy Flames. It doesn't have that by default. You have to have 4 materials for it. And once you hit the 5th material, it also can't be destroyed by card effects. So you can build a boss with this, like you can Peryton into double Hydra into 4 material Basiltrice, and then if you have Pillar, you can even put the 5th material on there, but eggs in baskets, But this is fun spot removal. It's also just the archetypal card. I really wish this got a super at some point.
It's just Lud Yoke.
Excuse me, this Outsled Yoke, obviously better. The aforementioned Solda, which is probably the thing you're going for most, aside from this. Like it's these most of the time. You're going for these. But you have utility options. You have Ptolemy. You have Bounzer.
Which can still be using the damage stuff for some reason. Yeehaw.
And just because you're running a bunch of 6s, Gaia Charger in case you need piercing or something. That's it. Utility 6s. Force Focus is definitely not needed. Gauntlet Launcher is probably outclassed by this card. And that's it for the 6s.
Gauntlet Launcher's cool though.
Gauntlet Launcher is that guy. And lastly, since you do run Raiden, we do run some Synchros. You could cut Rhapsody for Black Rose.
I say Black Rose is pretty
7. But that's Catastor because you can make it with Fader. Michael because Lumina Raiden. Scrap Dragon for Fader reasons. And this Raiden plus any Hazy Flame is Leo.
See, for me, this is probably Black Rose, and this might be Spark Dragon?
You're not trying to protect that much. And you do have some cards that want to be popped, like Garunix or Cerbereus.
Okay, so you can combo with your Scrap Dragon.
So I still think Scrap is worth it.
That makes sense.
I agree that this could even be Armades if you just want to keep a vibe but have it be different.
Armades is probably better than Catastor at this point, but
I'm thinking like Boojins being really annoying in my head, but
Who would run that deck?
Flex slot. Yeah, definitely not the guy behind the camera.
I would never play. I would never summon Yamato.
Rhapsody could be Black Rose here. This could be Black Rose. This could be Armades. You have options. It's not set in stone. These are really the only core ones. I think this is the best 8 that you can run, given your options. You don't make them very often, but
it does something when you activate Soul Charge. That's the big thing. It's like you could simplify the game state without the battle phase.
Now, that was it. 50 card extra, as if anyone would ever do less. Now, I'm not going to go into the side deck. You guys can work on that. But for extra considerations, like main deck swaps, if you want spell and trap removal, Lila, I wouldn't opt to main it personally, but you can. At the very least, you can definitely side it. Not a bad card. It's just I am not predicting playing into matchups where I want it. You could alternatively also lean more heavily into Fire Kings. You could run a bigger Fire King package. You could put Barongs and Yakshas in there. Yaksha does have that fun thing where if it pops Cerberus in hand, Cerberus searches. So like there is synergy there. I just opted not to go for the 4-axis route of it, but it's certainly viable. At that point, you'd run more Circle of the Fire Kings also to accompany them. But other than that, and maybe cutting down some of the Hazy Flames in number, like maybe only 2 Peryton, I think you don't have to change terribly much about your game plan. Obviously, you probably want to find room for some tankies. Maybe you take out the upstarts. But just for your consideration, Firedog. I really wish Firedog was better in this format, but 1900 ain't cutting it anymore, and you shouldn't be relying on killing things in the battle phase to proc effects. If this was 2K and could beat over armor, okay, sure, maybe I'd consider it. But as is, it was in the early meme phases and definitely got phased out pretty quickly. But I mean, it summons Hydra, it summons Cerberus, like it summons things that do mean something. And last but not least,
biased players biased.
Biased players biased. Fedseed Fire Ferret. It's mainly for utility to get off of Onslaught. If you just let it die, you could pop something. It's just a cool utility card. I love this card. Probably the least important out of all the. It's probably better than Fire Dog if we're being honest. But that's it. This is fun. Again, don't expect to top at locals with this too consistently. But sometimes the fact that you can't target any of them with card effects is kind of huge. And they're just big enough to be threatening that if they can't do that, they could get run over. And sometimes Solda just wins you the game. Like sometimes they just can't do anything about that.
Well, there you go. Be sure to like and subscribe for more retro format content. Thanks for watching, guys.